So to your point, Saagar, it's becoming more difficult for even Fox News to really fully defend Trump. Now, he still has his full defenders on Fox News and One American, Newsmax, let's be clear. But there are a few voices who are saying, you know, this is kind of hard to really explain in a way, in an innocent way. Ducey being one of them on Fox and Friends. Let's take a listen.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at those documents, can we go back and look at those documents on the floor? Keep in mind, according to the filing, the agents found 3 classified documents in Donald Trump's desks. What were they doing in the desks? And when you look at these particular things right here, at least 5 yellow folders marked top secret and another secret SCI, that stands for sensitive compartmentalized information. These are the biggest secrets in the world. If, you know, we have heard that Donald Trump's lawyers went through all the stuff, but how could you go and look at that and not think, you know what, that's probably something I should turn back over?
What'd you make of that?
I mean, is it deniable? Like, what is it? Like,
it's hard to argue.
Can you argue with that? Like, not really. I mean, beyond that, and I think, again, I look at what are the most, I think that there are a class of people out there who are actually very, very adept at defending Trump, really, in any way possible. And they always will gravitate to what I would say is like the respectable version. I have not seen that materialize on this case. I'm not saying it can't. Possibly, maybe they'll come up with something. I haven't seen it in court yet. And to the best of my knowledge, Trump and his defenders are going with what Dan Bongino is basically going with, and either insinuating that the documents themselves are fake or that it was egregious to just spread them on The Office. So let's give people a preview of what that looks like.
Yeah, I love the pictures they're showing there, too, top secret covers. Top secret covers are covers. And you're assuming, by the way, taking the, I get it, a lot of it's blacked out, redacted. I'm not stupid. But here's the point here. You know, I dealt with a lot of classified material in the Secret Service, too, like motorcade routes. And then, Brian, I've got news for you. After the motorcade route is run and 100,000 people saw the motorcade route, it's not classified anymore. I'm not telling you those documents aren't classified because I'm not a leftist media loser who jumps to conclusions. I'm simply telling you, jumping to the conclusion and assuming the FBI's story and the DOJ that it is classified is equally dumb.
You know, he's basically saying, I don't know if it's classified or not. And his point is not incorrect. At the end of the day, and you actually said this in the terms of the affidavit, you know, this is all the DOJ's and FBI's case.
Yes.
Like, that's not how you prosecute in America. Like, in America, the defense also gets to have their day in court. Now, the defense has not put a very forthcoming defense in the court of public opinion. They may come up with something in the court, but at this point, you know, what Dan is going with, which is basically like, well, I don't trust the FBI. Look, I don't trust the FBI either. Would they outright lie about whether these documents are classified or not? I don't know. I mean, it'd be very risky, right, in order to do so, because I think that would probably get exposed in a trial.
The other thing is that Trump hasn't really denied that they had material that at least was at one point highly classified. I mean, even with regards to this photo, he was like, I had all those documents in cartons. So he originally was like, well, maybe these weren't even, maybe the FBI brought these here. Who's to say? And yeah, I don't trust the FBI either. But he basically admitted that, yeah, I had these documents. I just had them in cartons, not on the floor, because he's so triggered by the idea that, like, they made his office messy or something. That he feels like that's a good place to, they just don't have a lot to hang their hat on right now, basically. And while I understand the strategy and it may be effective to slow things down, muddy the waters, throw up these procedural objections, like asking for the special master that's happening in the hearing today, it also is giving the government an opportunity to do things like, you know, put in this filing would not have happened if it were not for the Trump team's efforts to secure a special master. So that created an opening for the government to drop this photo, lay on a very aggressive case to push back on the talking points that we've been hearing from the Trump people about classification, about how they were, you know, greeted with open arms and they were working very cooperatively and all these things. So they, in a certain way, seem to have sort of shot themselves in the foot by opening the door to let the government put in this filing. So we'll see what happens in the court hearing today, whether the judge had indicated that she was likely to side with the Trump team and appoint a special master, even though potentially it's irrelevant at this point since the government has already gone through all of these documents. We'll see whether she's convinced by the government's case against doing that. And they basically made the case that, number one, the fact that that would slow down their ability to kind of go through the review of whether national security was compromised by the fact that these documents have been hanging out at Mar-a-Lago with people potentially around who shouldn't be seeing that information. So it would slow down that review. And then they also take issue with the idea that Trump even has standing to assert executive privilege, given the fact that he is not in the White House currently. So we'll see if she's swayed by those arguments, but ultimately, from a political perspective, it's a different story. From a legal perspective, it seems like the Trump team is struggling to come up with a coherent, innocent narrative of what's going on here.
I think you're right, Krystal. And to the political point, there's still a lot going on there right now, too, with Joe Biden. I mean, this is one of the best things that's frankly happened to the Biden campaign in quite some time.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.